Today, let's talk about love. Specifically, the love in Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. Now, this poem goes very, very deep and is very complex. It talks about everything from true love to death to heaven, and it really shows how the poet was feeling. Let's start with true love. So, in the poem, Edgar Allan Poe is talking about a love of his named Annabel Lee, and we can say this at the very beginning where it says that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. So it shows that this Annabel Lee and Edgar Allan Poe were together and they were in love. Now, it also talks about the love they had as children, which is one of the purest forms of love. It talks about this quote that says, I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, and we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with the love that the winged seraph of heaven coveted her and me. So it talks about how the seraphs of heaven, which are angels, coveted their love between those two, which shows a lot because the love angels feel is so pure and so great that this love outshined that. Now, it also goes into other types of love. It talks about how deep their love for each other was, using this quote. But our love was stronger. But our love was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. So, it also goes on to talk about again, the angels, and neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. Now, to dissever a soul from a soul is pretty big. I mean, it just sounds big. So, for their souls to be combined like that, it really shows how in love they were. It also talks about death. Now, this is one of the saddest poems out there, in my opinion, because it talks about this pure, great love, but then it talks about what happened to that love. It says, and so the night tide I lie by my side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the surrounding sea. So it talks about how even though she died, he still lies with her every single night because of how much he loves her. Now, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, that's one of the strongest loves out there. We also get to learn a bit about the poet in this poem, Edgar Allan Poe. He's known for poems such as The Raven, which coincidentally I'm named after. But he talks about in this his true love, Annabel Lee. And it really shows how deep his love for her was and how much he must have worn his heart on his sleeve in order for him to write such a poem about her. It also talks about how as children they were loved, which we talked about a little bit, and how even as children the angels coveted their love. He multiple times in this poem calls her beautiful, a wind blown out of the cloud chilling, my beautiful Annabel Lee. And that's talking about how highborn kinsmen, or like a cousin of hers, came to take her away, and how it ended up killing her. So it talks about how the reason of her death too. In this it says the angel is not half so happy in heaven, which not half so heavy in heaven. I mean, heaven is pretty great. Why wouldn't the angels be happy? When envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in the kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. So she died of what looks like a chill, which could also be a sickness, or maybe she got a really bad sickness. And it talks about how that killed her because the angels were so coveting their love for each other. So it's a really in-depth poem. It goes really into their love, what it was like for their childhood, And then it ends it with talking about her death, and it really just shows how much Edgar really did love Annabelle.